I don't know if you guys were following the stabbing there on that train in Charlotte, Irina Zarutska. Last time I was asking where you guys thought we were, you know, as far as in the country relation. Like, have you guys heard of the term black fatigue? Mm-hmm. Yeah. You guys know what that means?
Since the last time you came, that's become a thing.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's just become a recent thing.
And do you know what it means?
No, I'm not sure.
I'm going to ask that.
It's a term that's being used by people in the white community, by and large, again, saying they feel like they've been victimized and they're tired of taking that shit. You know, that was a girl who was dying alone in public. And that was a guy who was let out 14 times, including violent crimes in the name of racial justice, right? He didn't have to post bail. He didn't have to appear back in court. This is not the first time he's assaulted someone.
How do we know that was in the interest of racial justice as opposed to just being
because the judge said it.
A fucked up attempt at justice, period. Yeah. Like, the legal system has its flaws. Yeah. And people have been making complaints about that for decades, right? But that's just, to me, that's a mental health thing more than it's a black and white thing.
Well, I'll tell you why, because white people are saying it now. Right. Not just white people are saying, hey, we're in the city.
That's what makes it a bigger thing.
Well, because, you know, white people are 12 times as likely to be killed by a black person than the other way around. I'm just going to shoot you straight. It's not even close.
Where?
Across the country.
Where? Like, not in
the United States. I mean, we're not talking about Ghana.
In like,
yeah.
What I'm saying is, in white communities or in quote unquote so-called white communities,
across the country, the rate is a black man or person, because most murder is men. There are very few female murders. 12 times more likely to kill a white person the other way around. And then you look at the average amount of times.
I think we need to pause it on that stat right there. That is a crazy stat.
I want to know where he got that stat. I've never seen that stat before. I'm not saying
Should we look it up? Should we look it up?
You know what I always realize? It's always black and white. Why we never hear about no Asians and whites, Indians and whites? We never say Asians against
Asians and whites, Indians and whites as far as what?
Like, with the racial problem, like, why nobody other groups?
I know a lot of white people are getting mad at Indians because there's a lot of them here on H-1Bs and they say they don't want them here.
You think it's as bad as the black against white people?
No, but it's definitely something I've been noticing lately.
You think it's on the, like, me personally, I don't really be seeing that.
Well, I mean, obviously, like, black and white in America is tribal because, or as charged as it is because slavery.
Yeah.
And we're always constantly reminded of slavery everywhere you turn.
But you know, the Chinese was in internment camps.
Yeah, but
Asians,
you don't really learn that as much in school. It's not really something that's just like thrown around.
They like bombed a whole civilization of people.
That
they
was
got
in Japan.
bombed.
That was because of a war.
I know. I'm just saying.
It was at war.
I can't find the stat, but I can't find anything disproving it either. But I can't find it.
I just think that's an interesting stat. 12 times more likely.
If that's true, that's crazy.
That's an insane stat. I will say I do applaud the fact that they're having a respectful discussion.
Definitely.
And it's obvious to me that once he started describing what the black fatigue was, some of the older black gentlemen did not enjoy that.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that they're staying respectful.
Yeah, and it's a tough position that he's in, you know, to go in the environment that he's in around a bunch of black people and have this conversation. But this is what we need for white and black people to come together. We got to have uncomfortable conversations because that's how things get done, you know, instead of just staying divided and avoid talking about it when everyone is thinking it.
Do you know how many times they're arrested on average before they murder? 11 times.
Once again, the justice system's got its flaws, and people have been complaining about that for years. We spend more time trying to fix that than trying to complain about the white versus black of it all.
Well, I think, just like I was trying to listen to all communities last time, I think this is something that's unavoidable. If this community, if enough white people get pissed off, they're going, look, we're living in New York now, we're getting killed in record numbers, or Detroit, 12 times the rate. And our system, 3 strikes in California, right? That was a 3-strike policy. The reason that was changed, they said it was racist. Crime went down in black communities 30%. But now people are looking at their cities going, this is a fucking hellscape. And the murder is skyrocketed because people said in the name of racial justice, like 3 felonies, you're out.
Because crime is crime, right? But crime is usually going to be higher concentrated in areas where there's high poverty. So typically the areas that's high poverty in this country are areas with people with this color skin. So that's why you're going to have that. That's why I said those numbers could be skewed and made to manipulate to look like, oh yeah, that's why I said in
not at 12 times the rate.
In suburban neighborhoods, white people are not in danger, and that's what this kind of fear mongering tells them is that you're in danger because you're 12 times more likely to get killed by a black person. You live in ain't nobody coming after you. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody tripping on you. But these people just as scared as the other folks that
They
you
are if
talking
they
to.
get on a bus.
Not necessarily.
They are if they get on a
'Cause
train.
That lady wasn't in danger because that man was black. That lady was in danger because that man was crazy.
Nope.
That man was mentally insane.
But why was he back on the
family members? He had his own family members call the hospital to try to get him committed. He told his sister he killed that woman because he thought she was trying to read his mind.
Yep.
That's
Why was he let out,
insane.
though?
That ain't
And I'm
black
not
and
saying it's
white.
because he's black.
Yeah, that's
I'm saying
not
people
black
look at it,
and
though.
white, but how
The
does that
judge
become
said
a part of black fatigue?
he's insane, right? We agree.
That's
He
not
was-
a black and white issue.
He was deemed not fit to stand trial, right?
Right.
Now,
He should
the
have been
IOU
institutionalized.
Right. The IOU policy, meaning you don't have to pay bail. You don't even have to stay here until you're actually convicted. You just say you'll come back.
Right,
That was the
which is
14th time.
messed up.
Yeah,
Which
the
is messed
judge,
up.
Teresa Stokes, black woman.
Didn't you told me a stat the other day about as soon as they did away with the mental
Institute. Yes.
School shootings rose.
Yeah.
I thought it was all like murders rose. Was it?
No, we just looked in relation of school shootings, but we can look into relation of all murders.
When they closed down the what are they called? Insane asylums.
Mental
Yeah.
asylums. In 1950, the murder rate was 4.7 per 100,000. 1960, it rose to 5.1. 1970, 7.9. 1980, 10.2. But then
So-
it went back down.
Okay.
In the crack epidemic in the 90s, it went back down to 9.8 and to 5.5.
One could conclude that there might be a correlation, not causation, but correlation between the drop of insane asylums, and the rise in murders.
That is a mental thing to do.
It's a mental thing to do for sure.
It says some studies suggest that few psychiatric beds do correlate with higher crime and violent crime rate in states, as untreated mental illness can exacerbate in high stress environments.
That makes a lot of sense. So maybe we should open them things back up.
Yeah,
Because these people are just on the street
But
now.
you know, the argument they used to have about the insane asylums was that it's against people's rights.
It does say
Yeah,
in
but-
the 1980s that more people in jail were mentally ill.
But doesn't it make sense that, I see that argument, but maybe they just got to treat them in a nice way or something. But if these people who were in the insane asylums back in the day are now just roaming the streets and then murders are happening, like we can't just let
that
regular humans who are just minding their business, be at risk because we don't want to treat this person, sadly, even though they are insane. There's nothing we could do. Like, that
Facts.
dude should have been in an insane asylum, straight up.
Facts.
How often do you see black police killing unarmed white people?
Actually,
How often do you see that? How often do you see that?
well, I tell you, actually, the stats show that when you're dealing with armed white people versus black armed people, white armed people are more likely to be shot by the cops than black.
White armed people are more
White armed
likely to kill
people.
police officers. Look at what
armed
happened in
people, yeah.
Kansas where those five police
Let's call the
officers were
stats
gunned
a wash
down.
on that. Here's what I do know. Everyone wanted the body cam footage, and I agree. I was like, we should have body cam footage. We should have accountability for police officers, right? And we were to believe after the era of, remember, we went through Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice, Mike Brown, obviously George Floyd. There were so many that you could use as examples. We thought that we'd have a rash of body cam footage showing us the police brutality. You haven't seen body cam footage of note in the last year. Once that footage came out, it's about a 20-to-1 ratio where you see someone getting violent with an officer. We have not seen what we thought we would see. And now people are going, okay, so maybe not the body cam footage, right? We thought we'd see all the abuse.
Wait a minute.
Reflects
Before
the
you
stats.
jump off of that point, what about the body
fair
cam
argument.
footage where we see white people and white police and the white citizen is being belligerent with the police, but the police showing extreme restraint
Absolutely.
in dealing with that person, whereas black people will reach for your wallet, pow, you get shot. I got a phone.
See, but that's not true because we do the body cam footage all the time. And we will see police being restraintful with both races, I would say.
I will say the police do show a lot of restraint on the videos that we see. I believe that he's like making it seem like if you reach around the police, you're gonna get shot, especially if you're black. So that's kind of a stretch. The way he's framing like that to negate the point that Steven Crowder is making, it just doesn't have legs.
Yeah,
to
there's
stand
no
on.
validity. There's no stats to it. That's just like,
Yeah,
oh, well,
you're
I
not-
saw this.
The police aren't
Well,
gonna
I saw
shoot you
that.
if you're black and you reach. Like that's just false.
Now, if they know you have a gun
And they can threaten.
and you reach whatever color you are, you're probably getting shot. So I do think that like the point that Crowder made, that the body cam footage has shown a light that like what police officers go through on a day-to-day basis, and that they do have an extremely hard job, and police constantly get hated on and threatened and all these things, and then we ask them to protect us. Like
At the same time.
At the same time, you know, it's like, okay, so we know in the black community that we have a lot of violence and things, right? So the police are there to help that. But then we hate them and treat them as the enemy when you're way more likely to be killed by another black man than you are a police officer. You see what I'm saying? So I think that we really need to change that standard. If someone here has an altercation with the police, it's a lot more likely to end well than someone else who was trained from birth to hate the police and to be told they're your enemy, they're out to get you. When you train someone in that way, then altercations with the police are naturally going to go worse.
But you gotta also know we're in that age where the algorithms just feeding them that stuff too. Like
Yeah.
it's feeding them to think. That's why I feel like
Exactly.
that need to be fixed as well. Because
Yeah.
the algorithms that some people have on their social media devices will pretty much brainwash them to actually.
Yeah, but that's the thing again with the left. Like the thing that not all of the left, but typically a lot of the things you'll see from the left is the, you know, BLM movements and things like that where they divide the police from the citizens, you know? And so, and they constantly highlight those things, the bad moments the police had, so that now the police and black people are separated, you know, and they treat each other as enemies, you know? And that's worse for both parties.
It's crazy to really think everybody think the police is the enemy, but when something happened,
Who you gonna call?
that's the first one.
Call a crackhead.
What was it? What was it? Boondocks. He was like, "Thank God for the police," and then he was like, "Hold on, wait, who snitched?"
Yeah, you see,
It's like,
Boondocks was ahead of his time,
like,
bro.
come on, man.
I'm not doing anything.
And
Wow, you get
The
shot.
stats don't reflect it.
but
But
here's the
white people
thing.
are being killed in record numbers right now, and they're pissed. And if you keep just not listening to them, look, like you said, white people are the majority of this country. You have young white people who are getting more and more mad. I'm just telling you the truth.
What they mad
And they
at?
have the
Black
guns.
people hold
They're
no
mad because
power.
this
Why
thing.
they mad at
Here's
black
why.
people?
Here's
Why
why.
now? Why
They
now?
go, look, I'm 12 times more likely to be killed by a black person than you
Pause
are
that.
than you are a white person. And you go, well, that doesn't count.
He said, why are they mad at black people? Black people don't hold any power. That's literally moving the goalposts. They're talking about the statistics that are reflecting negative interactions between blacks and whites, which is leading to this new phenomenon that we're seeing of what's really probably not even a new phenomenon. It's a new trendy word, that's black fatigue. And people keep moving the goalposts like, oh, we don't have any power. Oh, but this happens to us. Da, 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 da. Cool, bro. It doesn't justify it happening. It's bad if it happens to anybody, regardless of race. Like, but if we have these bad statistics against a group and they're gonna turn on you, and y'all keep saying that this is the group with the power and the majority, I think that's something to be looked at. I mean, we got to fix these things. Or, I mean, at the very least, address that they're a problem. Like, instead of, well, it's bad when it happens to y'all, but it happens to us. Like, this is just not a...
This is not gonna end well.
This is not a good argument.
Yeah, and to get to that point, I think like, okay, yeah, black people probably don't have as much power, like as far as what positions they hold and owning things
Economically.
Yeah, but I think actually socially, black people have more power because black people, like for example, what happened to George Floyd or in any of these unfortunate cases where a black person was killed by a police officer, BLM or the left or whoever wants to blow that up, it will get blown up. But like he said, when a white person dies from the police, it doesn't get blown up.
Yeah.
You know, socially, it's not the same. Like just how like a black person can make a comment about a white person, but if a white person makes that same comment, doesn't hold the same weight. You see what I'm saying?
Consider a racist.
Exactly. So I think that black people do actually have a lot of power socially with the things that are going on. Because we saw how powerful the BLM movement was, and that was a scam. Do they talk about it? No. You see? But if white people were to, you know, do that same thing, it would be talked about, I believe. You know, maybe I'm wrong. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. But I just think that is my take on that, honestly.
My city got burned down. I've been accused of being a racist, even though I'm not. And I'm looking at this right now, and I'm not allowed to have an opinion, and I can't go into certain neighborhoods because I get my ass kicked. And then you just say, yeah, but you've had systemic power. That is a surefire way to breed racism.
Let's be frank about that, Steve. Now, first of all, here's why I disagree with you emphatically, right? Number one, when it is historically proven when there are riots, and this is the crazy part, most times we as blacks, we tend to riot in our own neighborhood for the same reason why we're not 12 times likely to kill a white person, because of that fact that the penalty is going to be be much harsh, okay? If black people really were the kind of threat and menace to white people as we're going to sit here and say that they are, never mind the stats, there's no way in the world that most of us would still be here, because guess what? You guys will find a way to deal with the problem if it is from a multiplicity of angles, all right? So, like I say, when I'm saying this right now, when it comes to
did deal with it.
who controls that narrative, Steve?
We did deal with it. You know what we dealt with it in liberals in blue cities? Cashless bail, catch and release. We did everything that was demanded. Defunded the police in certain neighborhoods. Guess
but
what?
no blacks ever asked for defunding the police officers.
Yeah, they
have. Well, here's the deal.
Now I will say it's mostly.
That's what I'm saying.
It's mostly black women. It's mostly black activist women, and they're not representative of black men. I get that.
Just like the guy who killed the lady on the bus that you were talking about earlier, right? He doesn't represent black America and what he did. I mean, listen.
Here's where he does. Just listen to me here. Here's where he does. Here's where he does to a lot of people. And this is what I'm just trying to, because last time I sat and listened, but I want you to hear something really important. Here's where he does. Young white, that person's parents, that person's relatives, look at it and go, wait a second. This guy was out 14 times, and the reason he was out 14 times was because a black female judge, in the name of restorative justice, who has received funding from NGOs, said, we're going to have cashless bail and catch and release and the IOU policy in the name of racial justice. So people are going, my daughter's dead because it would have been racist to keep this guy in jail. You need to understand that, right? But you understand it.
Excellent point.
That was an excellent
Excellent
point. That's a great point because these are policies that were demanded by black people,
the left,
that benefit black people, black offenders and criminals, and we're seeing the results of that. So I think rather than separating the fact that he was black and the fact that the policies that were demanded by blacks that benefited him and well, I won't say benefited, but led to him being free and this happening because he's black. So
also, and it also became racial because he said, I got that white girl. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you say that, that doesn't help the situation not becoming racial. Again, y'all, let's flip the script here. If a white person stabbed an innocent black woman, right, like just like that on a train like that, and said, I got that black girl, there would be another BLM riot.
Yeah.
Her flawed judgment does not represent the opinion of black people, number one. Okay,
it represents a systemic correction.
Well, let's talk about systemic correction. And you know what the problem really is? When you defund our opportunities to provide adequate psychiatric and institutionalization for those kind of people, that wouldn't have happened. Because let me tell you something, even as a black person,
I didn't know where he was going with that. Yeah, you do got to institutionalize those type of people. You do.
Yeah, no,
you have to.
There's been a deinstitutionalization since 1950. It's 2025. We can't use something that's been going on for 70 years or that's been an issue for 70 plus years to justify or like obviously yes, these type of loony people need to be institutionalized, but they've been deinstitutionalized loony houses since 1955. So it's like, what more do they want?
You know what? Before I release you, you know what? I'm going to have you committed to an institution because number one, the greater good is for me to preserve public integrity, and that's on both sides of the spectrum. I don't give a damn if you're black or white.
Why do you think they're not committing him to an institution?
Because there's no funding available.
No, they were shut down in the name of restorative racial justice.
And his family,
that's why he wasn't institutionalized.
And his family
he should have been in prison
too. His family pushed against it in certain like there's some of them cases where they were in court. His family was saying, "Don't put him in there."
I know, and who gives a shit?
But I'm just saying that's part of it. But when you only include the part that says the judge, you're not giving the whole story, and that's what media ends up doing. That creates these tensions in people. They straw man conversations and only tell part of it.
No, it's not as strong. The tension is there. That's what I'm trying to tell you. The tension is already there. White people are afraid to go in black neighborhoods because
should black people be afraid to go to school because a white person go come shoot the school up? Because every time we see that, that's what keeps happening.
It's not even close.
Church.
But now you're going to ignore. Now you're going to ignore that.
I'm scared to go to church.
You're scared to go to church, but you're sitting in the barbershop with almost 12 black men. Come on, Steve. Now let's be realistic.
Who do you think's more at risk sitting down right here?
Exactly. He know he's not in danger around us.
I'm much more risk.
We don't do that.
And here's an irony.
You know, I just watched my friend die, right?
Steve, let me say this. Know what bothers me about white people, and this is kind of
everything.
No, not everything. Not everything.
Well, we smell like wet dog or some. I've heard all this stuff.
Let me tell you what bothers me about white people. Let's be honest here, because I work with a lot of white people. so I have nothing against them at all. Let me be honest with you. But the problem that the biggest problem that I have is that you constantly get bombarded with the excuses, all right? When you really come down to it, let's be honest, man.
Wow.
And let's be
He did not just say that.
That's interesting.
Brother, who comes with the excuses?
That was an interesting take.
Who comes with the excuses that 6% of the population is responsible for 56% of every single murder committed in the United States? But we come with excuses of, oh, we don't have no funding. Oh, there's not enough YMCAs, no programs. No. We need some accountability. If you gonna say that, then you need to also speak on how black people have a bunch of excuses for why, I'm just gonna say this, y'all, I mean, it's gonna sound mean, but I don't care, why we are the most violent race, statistically speaking, just being honest. 6% of the population, 6%.
Hold on.
Is responsible for 56% of every murder. But the white people came with the excuses.
Hold on, because they said the numbers are skewed.
In
Just
what way?
Look at YouTube and look what black people do and what white people do.
Look at the music. Look at the culture.
That's it.
Look at this. What happens at school.
It's sad to say it, but it's the truth.
But we know these stats cannot be, like, we know, everyone knows. And most of these murders are done to black people. So black people kill each other and blame it on white supremacy and institutional racism in the system. But white people come with excuses.
We can use like all these systemic data, right? These data factors to point blame, right? Oh, that's because the banks do this to this percent of black people, or they did redline to this percent of black people. Yes, and all these things happened, right? It's all data, it's all documented, right? And we use that to point the blame and excuse, or
that's the right word. No, I would use that word.
Excuse these situations and these things we see, right? But on the flip side of that, if white people say, okay, well, all of this data is the reason why we feel this way about y'all, but they use excuses?
That's my point.
Like, y'all, like, we have to use facts here, because I do agree that a lot of these systemic factors in this data is the reason for this stuff. That's why I go hard. That's why I want to overcome these things. So if someone presents me with the same data to prove a different point, I have to accept that.
Yeah, you can't pick and choose when you accept
you
data.
can't pick and choose, bro. You can't say it's
manipulated.
manipulated.
Well, that's skewed, because I don't agree with it.
Yeah, I mean,
what?
Even still, even whether we agree or not, the data came from somewhere.
Bro, I think everyone, if we put everyone on a lie detector test, everyone knows, like he said, listen to the music. Look at black people, is a problem. Violence in the black community is a problem. You could ask each one of these people in this video, is violence in the black community a problem, yes or no?
Hear their answer.
They would all say yes, you have to. If you're not saying yes, then I'm not even hearing you, because you will not admit anything. Everyone knows that is a problem. That is half the reason that we do what we do, because we want that problem to stop. So we don't stop by enabling them and blaming it on someone else. We need some accountability, y'all. The problem is on us. So let's fix our problems and stop blaming white people for our problems.
Be truthful with one another. Ask yourself, what do you expect when you look at architectural oppression, economic depravity, and social disparity? What would you call it? I mean,
bad decisions.
Huh?
Bad decisions.
Bad decisions.
Yeah, I think right now in 2025, it's bad decisions. I think everyone can make better decisions.
And you know what? I'll even go here with you. In all fairness, I think that's absolutely true. So my question for you is, how do we move past this?
Yeah. Okay.
How do we move past
I agree with you. I agree. Here's, and I think maybe we'll find some common ground here. If we agree there is personal accountability and bad decisions, and I think we also all agree that feminist white are the worst demographic in the country, along with lesbians.
There's a great book that says that they were See, that's what I'm saying.
Like, I'm telling you, like, believe me, I don't have a... Let me just clarify. And I mean that. Angry white feminist and lesbians, because if they didn't vote, we wouldn't have half of the shit. But, and this is one thing I appreciate about black men, that white men are so... Black men can talk about these things, and black men are okay being masculine. White men are told it's sexist. There's a lot there. Personal accountability decisions. Now, just take that and apply it. What you kind of just did here is you blamed white people, without realizing it, for systemic discrimination, and that removes autonomy from a white person to be accountable and also rewarded for their good decisions. So if we agree it's bad decisions, personal accountability, we'd all be against reparations, and we'd all be against the criminal justice reform.
I'm definitely for reparations.
I'm for reparations.
So Mark,
See, that to me, you said excuse.
Yeah.
That sounds like an excuse to me.
You ain't paid me back. You ain't paid me for what you owe me. It's
What did I take from you?
You can't start another bill
What did I take from
until
you?
you pay this old bill.
What did I take from you?
You didn't take but your ancestors.
But you just said you.
Well, when I say you, I
That
meant
is just such a
He
stupid
said your
argument.
ancestors took from me.
No, they didn't.
So that would mean his ancestors took from your ancestors, therefore meaning that he didn't take nothing from you and
You didn't take nothing from him.
Nothing got taken from
No
you.
one took anything alive
Nobody-
from each other.
Yeah, it's like okay, like yes.
That doesn't
sure,
make sense,
Sure,
bro.
in the initial freedom of black people from slavery, there should have been some sort of reparations.
For sure.
1,000%.
For
but
sure.
now in the current, and
It's
don't
too
get me
late.
wrong, I'm not saying this to say that reparations shouldn't happen. I mean,
They
based
should
on the
not
history-
happen.
Based on the history, I'm sure there's a justification. But in the current day, 2025 America, how do you justify who pays reparations and who
That's
gets
why
them?
they shouldn't
How
happen.
do you justify
You
that?
can't.
Because there's so many people that are black skinned that, oh, reparations, but they are not descendants of slaves. There's so many people. There's millions. Probably almost the majority of the black community, possibly. I don't know. Or the black percent in America. So saying that reparations, how do you justify who pays that? Because how many percent of white people even own slaves?
Oh, we looked it up. It wasn't a lot.
So you have a low percent of white people, less than 5-10% of white people that own slaves, and you want them to pay people who were never even
I think
slaves?
it was a little more than that. I want to say it was like 20% or 30% or something like that.
Okay.
But I'd have to look it up to be exact. But still, that's a good point.
I just
and
don't
it's just
understand
like
how we justify that.
It doesn't make sense. Okay, so you
It
just
doesn't
paid
make sense.
because of the sins of people 100 years ago. So the reparations argument to me is dumb.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I just don't like. You can't justify it to me. There's too
can't.
many. There's too
This
many.
is a
people,
very interesting
There's
conversation,
too many
though.
biracial. If you biracial,
Yeah.
how do you justify that?
Get
You're
half?
white.
Yeah.
Like if you from Africa and now you black in America, how do
you
you
get
justify?
any?
If you from the
Young people
Caribbean now
weren't-
you black in America,
Exactly.
how you justify that?
Yeah.
Like how do you justify?
It doesn't
that?
make sense,
How
bro.
are you gonna go through and test everybody's DNA to say
It's impossible.
Oh, you get some.
It's impossible.
It's like impossible.
It's impossible. All right, y'all. This is a very interesting conversation, though. It is. We need more of this.
I ain't gonna lie.
We need more of
It's
this.
not a bad. It's not a bad conversation.
It's not.
I like,
It's
that
actually
I like
cool.
the fact that they're.
It's interesting.
They're definitely like standing firm on their disagreements, but it's
Yeah.
not getting heated.
It's not getting heated,
Obviously,
yeah.
it's getting a little charged because they are passionate about
very
what they
passionate
think,
thing.
and it's cool. You know,
Yeah,
I
it
can
can get like
respect that
that.
as a man.
This
Yeah.
is good.
I can
Actually.
respect
But it's
that as
not
a man.
getting too far. It's not
Yeah.
going too far.
It's not ending where I hate you, f you.
Yeah, it's
none of
not that.
you
It's
know?
not that. It's not that.
No name calling.
Before DEI and affirmative action, white shrieking feminists wanted to take credit for something that was already happening because people had become less racist, so they can say, tag my white name on there, DEI. See what I did for black people? It's white guilt. And what I'm trying to tell you is young people who have nothing to do with any of this, their guilt is running out, and you can't escape the violent murder rate. You can't escape them losing opportunities and being blamed for being racist when they're not. And you want those kids to pay reparations? You're creating a generation of racists. That's what's going to happen. And it's not right.
And then you're gonna have
We're not creating DEI.
Then you gotta have-
benefiting.
We as a black community, we're not creating a generation of racists. You know who's creating that generation of racists?
white people.
Those older white people are feeding that into their kids. See, all white people are not racist. I don't believe that.
No, of course not.
But the ones that come from families that have that inherent gene or trait in them, they're passing
Racism
that on.
isn't a gene.
See, I look at this. The gentleman that got killed, Charlie. He was killed by a white man, a young white man, right? From the generation that you're talking about that's getting fed up.
Well, he was also banging a
Now, his dad had one ideology. He followed another ideology. That's out the same household. He didn't come from nowhere black. He wasn't hanging around with no bunch of black people.
I know, I agree.
They came
I'm not
into
saying
that
that, no.
mindset. His daddy put whatever was into him. His dad either put that into him or his rebellion from his father caused him to think like that. That we're not creating that. Black people.
That
are
has
the
nothing to do with
least-
what I agree with you.
You ever seen over in Africa? You see an elephant with a bird riding on his back. That elephant ain't worried about that bird because that bird not stopping him from doing the thing he want to do. Where's the bird?
No.
Where's the bird?
You're
We're
not
not
the bird.
stopping white Americans from doing anything.
You know what? The
they wanna
bird just
do.
burned down $4 billion worth of
No,
cities
the
and
bird ain't burned
60,000
down.
assaults.
No.
And what young white kids? No, hold on. You got to
the bird might get blamed for it.
Right.
The bird is half as big as the elephant.
Steve, you act like it's only blacks that was burning it down.
You know what I said earlier, and you listen is when you have a young white person going, okay, why is this happening? And people go, Black Lives Matter. And they go, well, hold on a second. I have an opinion on Black Lives Matter. They go, well, sit down, shut up. Okay, now silence is violence. And that kid goes, well, what do I do? By the way, you're on the hook for reparations, even though his father, his grandfather, his great-great-grandfather didn't own a slave, and he's still 12 times more likely to be killed by a black person the other way around. What I'm saying is society is going to create a generation of racists. What do you say to that young white kid? What do you say to him?
Stop watching, stay off of TikTok.
Stop reading stats.
Stop paying attention to what these talking heads are saying, because they're leading you down the wrong path. They're leading you down a path of paranoia and conspiracy theories.
What if their interactions with black people in general are quite negative?
Well, guys, that was a very good conversation.
It's interesting because I can understand the point that Steve Crowder is trying to make. I can understand it. Like, all he's saying is, I want you guys to just acknowledge that all these things are happening, and that's why terms like black fatigues exist. White people aren't going to sit around and hear about how they're racist and they're this and that, and they're feeling some type of way. In the younger generation, which is people probably our age and coming up below us, are getting sick of it, and they're pushing back against that, and they're not trying to hear that. And it seems like the older gentlemen in the shop, this may be because they're from a different generation than us. This may be because they don't want black people to be seen as the villain, whatever. They don't want to hear that. And I think they did find common ground on some of these things, and they could acknowledge that some of this stuff is true, but it just seems like they just constantly would just keep denying and deflecting what he was saying.
The racist white folks that was taught that gene and the trait.
Especially the brother in the red shirt or whatever that was, jersey. It seemed like he was doing it the most. It seemed like the other ones they could go back and forth. Dude with the
Dude with dreads was the most reasonable to me. The dude with the dreads was the most reasonable.
With the Democrats and Republican shirt?
He was the most. I
thought it was the older dude.
Y'all think they think Crowder is a racist?
I don't think they think that. No.
I don't know.
I feel like that's the typical white. I feel like that's the typical white man in America.
Yeah, I do too. But then they'll say white people are racist. But then again, also like how he sat there, he was like, "Oh, well, they're taught this, that," and you know, well, black people teach their kids a lot of the times the same things about white people, but not bring home no white girl. But not do that. That's the same thing.
You know,
that's the same thing, y'all.
It's so confusing to me that black and white people is getting into it, and we see other races that are thriving,
vibing, thriving, doing just fine.
But nobody say nothing about it.
And it's another. It's
they don't beef with
example
nobody.
After example of that, you know.
It's no race hustling or nothing with no other races. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, why is this flame still keep getting poured on?
It's because the perspective that people are taking, your perspective is your reality. So if you see the world from a lens of, oh, I'm everyone's out to get me, I'm a victim, then that's how you're gonna see it. That's why Africans come here and they don't see that, because they don't have that perspective. They were in Africa where it's messed up. So they come to America, the promised land, and they're just like, man, y'all seem to complain a lot.
I think that is a very interesting take, because that's why a lot of these people are trying to move past from the constant slavery talks and the constant reminder of slavery, this and that. And I saw people were mad at Trump for removing like slavery imagery or something from a park. I mean, personally, I don't want to go to the park and see monuments from the darkest point, or one of the darkest points in human history that is happened to my ancestors, and I'm supposed to just like, oh yeah, remember that.
We do that every time.
Unfortunately, I don't want to be constantly reminded. I don't want to be constantly reminded of the worst part of my history in this country. I'd like to have some highlights and some what could be done by successful people, the intellectuals, the people that tried and succeeded. I want to see that.
The inventions, the things like that, the AC unit. I want to see that. Yeah. Let's highlight that. Yeah. Not every single bad thing that ever happened. So
I just wonder, like, also with this, white supremacy thing, everybody keep arguing about why they don't try to suppress other races. Why would they let other races get ahead of them?
Because they only hate black folk.
That don't make sense to me. Why would this is my country, why would I have another race be more advanced than me?
Because you only hate the black man only. Because you want to oppress and keep the black man down.
It
doesn't make sense, y'all. Because why they didn't keep the Asians down? Why the Asians passed everybody up? All right. That was a good conversation, y'all. Go watch the whole video. Y'all know our take, man. We out of here.